Takuma is a loser, who all the girls avoid for being a scary guy. However, his virgin life takes a turn when Odin himself chooses him to become a hero. Now he will be forced to live with all his freaky daughters and reference Rito of Healer to give them strength. It all started at school, when the girls in class started talking about youth and love, and one popular blonde girl, Natsuki, became the center of attention. She casually says she's not ready for a relationship. But then the conversation shifts to her sisters, and some admire Itsuyo, the head of the student council. Others prefer Mutsumi, the sweet, idol-like sister. Natsuki gets shy listening to the boys gush over them. Suddenly, one of her friends teases her by grabbing her plots, but their fun ends when Takuma stands up, and his overwhelming aura intimidates them like a dark, vengeful demon. He doesn't even need to say a word, and just his presence alone sends one of the boys retreating out the window. The rest of the class freezes in fear, and even the teacher, known for being strict, chickens out when he sees Takuma standing in front of the door. Some students start whispering wild rumors, claiming Takuma is the reason for all the demon attacks in the city. One of Natsuki's friends warns her to stay away from the demon-faced Takuma, and Natsuki looks at him with a mix of pity and awkward agreement. When Itsuyo, the student council president, hears the gossip, her secretary Matsumura tells her it's about Takuma. With the school festival approaching, people are saying he's a walking bad omen for them. Outside the school, Takuma always carries a book wherever he goes, and people assume it's some kind of dark spellbook, while in reality, he's just studying. It saddens him to be labeled a demon when in reality, he's had that scary face since he was little and has never been able to control it. His aura either terrifies people or provokes them into picking fights, forcing him to shut himself off, afraid of others and afraid they'll be afraid of him. For years since his mother passed away, Takuma now lived alone in a big house. Takuma heads for a shower, only to walk in on Natsuki, Itsuyo and Mutsumito to create an accidental fan service, and the image of these perfect sisters suddenly shatters. Natsuki immediately throws a shampoo bottle at his face, and as Takuma tries to escape, Itsuyo grabs his hand and teasingly presses herself against him, asking him to stay. Natsuki yells at her to stop, accusing her of showing off, and Itsuyo retorts that Natsuki's just jealous of what she's packing. While they bicker, Takuma tries to crawl out of the room, only to get stopped by Mutsumi. He ends up face to face with her small plots before getting slapped, which yeets him right into Natsuki's instead, earning him a beating. Just then, more sisters appear, Misa and Yakumo. Misa greets him like nothing strange just happened. Takuma bolts, as he's not built for the chaos of having his house invaded by 9 freaky sisters. He remembers how once on the verge of death, Odin himself picked him as an Einherjar, saying that he's needed as the world is on the edge of chaos. Takuma, with his pure heart, holds the power to fight back, and Odin entrusts his 9 daughters, the Valkyries, to support him, forcing him to now live with all of them. He even considers calling the police to get his privacy back, but suddenly 2 more sisters, Futaba and Kururi, show up in his room. Futaba gives him sad puppy eyes and asks if he's really going to call the police. She bows, thanking him sincerely for letting them stay and playing the victim card perfectly. She stirs Takuma's guilt, and just like that, he cancels the idea of evicting them. At dinner, the girls eat joyfully while Takuma worries about his study schedule, as he can't focus with other people just casually walking around his house, and even just seeing Natsuki walk by makes his stomach drop to the floor. Just then, Futaba pops up and teases that he likes Natsuki, and somehow ends up making them study together. While at school, Natsuki always seems calm and perfect, but up close, she constantly scolds him. Noticing his tense expression, Natsuki asks if being with her is really that uncomfortable, and Takuma responds bluntly that it is. Natsuki glares at him and tells him to just start studying so they can finish quickly. Meanwhile, Itsuyo absolutely hates this idea, and she doesn't want Natsuki getting all the time to be close to Takuma. Futaba and Misa try to reason with her, while Yakumo comments that Takuma doesn't seem motivated to help, but then Itsuyo says she still trusts their father's decision, even if Takuma is a bit weird. Behind a closed door, Takuma fights for his sanity. He drops his eraser and reaches to grab it, only to realize it landed under Natsuki's skirt. Natsuki, lost in her math problems, suddenly looks down, just in time to see Takuma's face where it absolutely shouldn't be. She stands up furiously, demanding to know if he's serious about studying or is just looking to feast on seafood. Takuma sits upright immediately. He swears he's serious and tells Natsuki that he even promised his dead mother that he would become a smart student and a respectable person. Just as things get awkward, Futaba walks in and suggests they take a break and go buy some snacks, but she orders them to hold hands while at it. Takuma doesn't love the idea, but he sucks it up, as he just wants to survive and get home quickly. While walking, Natsuki asks why he doesn't defend himself when people accuse him of being a demon. She remembers how he saved her once, putting himself between her and a real demon, but Takuma expresses how pointless it is since everyone sees him like the second coming of Diddy. Just then, a massive demon appears nearby, creating chaos. Natsuki's powers awaken, and the demon is quickly cloaked by one of the sisters' powers, so humans can't see it. The others watch from home, hoping Natsuki and Takuma can handle the situation. While the duo tries to run, the demon spots them. It swings its tail and Takuma jumps in front of Natsuki to protect her. That's when she realizes that Takuma hasn't changed, and even with his fear of people, he can't turn away when someone needs help. Seeing his heroics, Natsuki decides to fight, so she strips down, takes Takuma's hand, and kisses him. Natsuki transforms, being powered by intimacy, the strongest force a Valkyrie can wield. Turn out that to awaken their full strength, Takuma must get freaky with them. After the fight, Natsuki tells Takuma that because of the promise he made to his late mother, being a hero is his fate, and nothing is more respected than to be one. While Takuma has his doubts, Natsuki encourages him to do his best. The next day, the girls arrive at school with all their grace and charm. Every guy turns to look, completely enchanted, until one Godzilla-looking presence steps through the school gate. And even in the morning, Takuma's face is as terrifying as ever to everyone around him. But unbeknownst to them, the real reason he looks so stiff is that today is the announcement of the exam results. In the student council room, Itsuyo prepares documents with fellow council member Isekai. They need to get ready for the festival. And then Matsumura chimes in, saying that everything Itsuyo touches always turns out great. She brushes it off, giving credit to the support she receives from the other students. Then Inukai brings up the test results. Itsuyo ranks first, as usual. Mutsumi makes it to 30th place, and Natsuki is too ashamed to acknowledge her score. But when they look for Takuma's grades, he's dead last, so Natsuki and Mutsumi scold him, asking what happened. Takuma just sits there like a pufferfish with no will to live. He says that being surrounded by people makes his anxiety rise and overwhelm him, and he ends up messing up most of his answers. Natsuki, frustrated by his constant self-pity, immediately chokes him and tells him to pull himself out of his depression. But instead of facing her, Takuma runs off. Mutsumi reminds Natsuki that they agreed not to talk about his fears, but Natsuki can't hold back, not when she knows how hard he's been studying. Then, over the school speaker, Takuma's name is called to an empty room. He braces himself for another scolding, but it's Itsuyo who appears with her chains, locks him down and declares she wants a date. She says she needs to power up for the next battle, but Takuma, still sulking over his grades, says it's not the right time or place. Deep down, Itsuyo doesn't care about Takuma, and as long as he can give her power, she can finally earn acknowledgement from her father, Odin, by being the best Valkyrie, and gets herself head pats from Odin to satisfy her daddy issues. So she comes up with a list of ways to gain power, from a lunch date, to shoulder massage, to holding hands, or even just looking into each other's eyes. All of it fails miserably, as Takuma's fear and anxiety shut down every attempt. Itsuyo runs out of patience and ideas, but before she can try something new, the bell rings, and Takuma bolts back to class. Later in gym class, Itsuyo and Natsuki chat while changing. Natsuki says that Itsuyo is rushing things, even though she always says they have plenty of time, and that she also tells her that she isn't the same crybaby from before. But just as she leaves for the gym, a bubble blast demon appears in front of her. Natsuki rushes over, but Itsuyo says her chains is more effective than Natsuki's sword. As everyone gathers, a shield goes up around the demon, and they make a plan where Natsuki distracts the demon while Itsuyo charges up with Takuma so she can use her chains to bind it. Natsuki starts the fight with a kiss and transforms into her battle uniform, giving Itsuyo her chance to have a private moment with Takuma, while poor Mutsumi gets left behind for being a useless scrub. Then, in their private space, Itsuyo really tries to get intimate with Takuma, and she's ready to get her plots progress right there and then in the storage room. But just as Takuma works up the nerve to respond, Itsuyo flinches, then slaps him hard as she can't help it. Deep down, she's still scared, and tears spill from her eyes. Takuma understands, and he doesn't try to force anything, but he remembers what his mother used to do when he cried, and he gently pats Itsuyo's head. And for Itsuyo, it brings back memories of when Odin used to do the same, and that simple, delicate gesture gives her strength. She then kisses Takuma on the cheek, and her power activates. She races into battle, pulls Natsuki out of danger, and the two sisters work together to defeat the demon with their powers. After the fight, Itsuyo apologizes to his council members for disappearing, but the other student council members say it's fine, as Matsumura already reported the incident, and no students were hurt. Still, Matsumura blames the demon's appearance on Takuma being a bad omen. Itsuyo shuts him down immediately and takes the rest of the council with her, leaving Natsuki alone with Takuma. Natsuki points out how Takuma is getting more comfortable with Itsuyo, and how it's a good thing, as slowly but surely, he's learning to manage his human phobia. Then Inukai arrives to escort them back to class, but behind his refined smile and fancy face, Inukai isn't just any student. He's a demon with a mission to keep a close watch on the hero Takuma. Some days later, Mutsumi lands an advertisement job, and the director praises her natural beauty and her perfectly built assets. After a quick shower, she realizes how busy she's been these past few days, and a little envy creeps in, as while her other sisters are getting more time with Takuma, she still hasn't had her chance. Meanwhile, Natsuki, being the strongest among them, is busy fighting demons with Takuma, while the others hang out near the food stalls. Futaba points out that demon appearances are becoming more frequent, and they all need to lock in and level up, as they can't leave everything to Natsuki and Itsuyo. So first up is Mutsumi's turn. She finally gets her date with Takuma, and she's so ready that her mind is already in Delulu mode, imagining the perfect scene playing out. But one of their classmates suddenly pop up in the booth behind them, bragging loudly about being Mutsumi's close friend, which he obviously isn't. Then he tries to act familiar with Takuma too, claiming he's some gangster type with deep family issues and a nine-tailed fox hidden inside him. He doesn't even realize Takuma is sitting right behind him until he leans back and locks eyes with that sharp, deadly stare. The guy immediately freaks out like a rabid dog and jumps out of the cafe window in pure terror, but the other customers assume Takuma throws him out. Mutsumi refuses to let her date be ruined by an idiotic simp, so she asks Takuma where he wants to go, and he tells her to the bookstore. Mutsumi can't even get mad, and instead she's amazed by his dedication and drive. It reminds her of a time when she too was attacked by a demon, and that experience leaves her anxious and afraid, just like Takuma. Back then she was with Itsuyo, and it was Natsuki who came to save them. Because of that incident, Itsuyo and Natsuki were so close as kids, but now they're like cats and dogs. Matsumi tells Takuma that to manage her nerves back then, the other sisters forced Matsumi to work as an idol or model. Takuma can't even imagine being in her position. But Matsumi says she's scared at first too, but she's glad she does it, as helping her family financially and gaining confidence through fan support helps her grow stronger. Hearing that, Takuma suddenly falls quiet. It reminds him of his own past of getting bullied and losing his mother. He stays silent for a moment, then walks off to pay for his book without another word. But beneath that scary face and stoic shell, Mutsumi senses something familiar, and an aura similar to the demon that attacked her years ago. Only this time, she's not scared, but instead her knees go weak for a freakier reason. After buying the book, Takuma says he wants to head home so he can study. Mutsumi, realizing she's just been rejected, only finds herself more attracted to him. Meanwhile, Inukai watches from a distance, keeping an eye on the two, as his mission is to make sure none of the girls level up with Takuma, and that's when an idea hits him. He summons a small demon, the Snitch, to announce Mutsumi's presence through a loudspeaker, drawing attention from everyone nearby. Mutsumi panics. Her identity is at risk, and the date is ruined. Takuma, equally averse to crowds, immediately grabs her hand and takes off running. They duck into a nearby storage room and squeeze into an old locker in the corner, forcing one shared breath, while their bodies press together like two rats stuck in glue. In that cramped moment, Mutsumi's imagination runs wild. She pictures all kinds of ways she could get her plots progressed by Takuma. Her delulu gets cut short when Takuma asks if she has any idea how to escape. She gets an idea, which is to use her powers, but she needs a boost from Takuma. As her power is wings, she can fly them both out of there, but first, she needs a kiss. Seeing an opportunity in the chaos, Mutsumi decides to act. She kisses Takuma's chest, her body heating up from the closeness, and the thrill of her fans still searching just outside only makes the moment more intense. As her sensation peaks, Mutsumi powers up. She transforms into her Valkyrie uniform and spreads her newly awakened wings. With a quick flight, she carries them both to safety, soaring into the sunset sky. Takuma is stunned, as the moment reminds him of time spent with his mother. Mutsumi, proud of her newfound strength, says she's happy with how the date turned out after all. Watching from a distance is a woman trailing them, who turns out to be the oldest sister Ichika, who still refuses to acknowledge Takuma's presence and only follows as a guardian from the shadows. Futaba invites her to the upcoming school festival, and Ichika agrees to go, but makes it clear it's not for Takuma's sake. Meanwhile, Inukai is fuming. Seeing his plan fail, he sulks alone, chomping on a burger while speaking to his owner, a high-level demon who orders Takuma's elimination. Inukai mutters that the school festival will be the perfect time for his next move, as after all the sisters will be there. A few days later, the girls stay home while Takuma takes an extra test. But by the time he gets back, he looks completely drained, worn out from his fear of being around people. Once again, he can't answer most of the questions properly, even though he knows all the answers. Seeing him like that sparks an idea in Misa's head, and she suggests a game of tag. Takuma immediately says no, as he wants to study. But then Karuri gets upset that Takuma never wants to play with them, and Misa adds that she needs a light workout since she feels a bit chubby lately. Takuma realizes that if he doesn't join the game, the girls will keep interrupting his precious study time. So, with a heavy heart, he agrees. Futaba is picked to be it, but the moment she puts on her glasses and her face turns serious, everyone shivers, and the rules change instantly. Everyone has to play, and if they get caught, their underwear gets yeeted. Everyone braces themselves, and Takuma tries to sneak away, hoping to hide and study instead. But the second he opens the bathroom door, he finds Misa and Itsuyo in the middle of changing. Shocked, he tries to run, but Misa stops him. She explains this isn't a normal game, and that Futaba is taking it way too seriously. Even with just her level 1 power, she can easily snatch anyone's underwear. So Misa tells Takuma to stay put with Itsuyo for a bit. In the awkward silence, Itsuyo suddenly mentions she's been a good girl, doing her studies and all her council duties. Takuma doesn't get it at first, but when it clicks, he realizes she wants a pat on the head. When he gives it to her, Itsuyo can't help but start purring for him. Meanwhile, from her lookout spot, Misa senses Futaba's approach, and suddenly Futaba barges in. Misa and Itsuyo quickly tackle Takuma to protect him, and somehow, he ends up in the best possible position in this crazy situation. Still confused, Takuma wonders why Futaba is so obsessed with stealing underwear. She explains it dramatically that underwear is the final line of defense for one's dignity, and losing it is basically a death sentence. Takuma doesn't really follow the logic, and luckily Misa grabs him and tosses him out the window, straight into the garden. He lands right on top of Yakumo, and with her usual deadpan tone, she calls him a creep. Then Karuri and Natsuki show up shortly after. Natsuki points out that they need a real strategy if they want to avoid being wiped out by Futaba, who is kicked into second gear for this game. Natsuki informs Takumo that Futaba's power is summoning Asgard's walls, and that she could even summon Asgard's whole castle in her full potential. Just then, after taking down Misa and Itsuyo, Futaba comes for Natsuki and Yakumo. Takuma, now completely out of his depth, decides to run and hide in the storage room, only to find it already occupied by Shino. Surrounded by her books, she greets him calmly and tells him to stop being a coward. Just then, Natsuki crashes onto his back, as she's been caught too. Then Futaba enters with a wild look in her eyes, aiming directly for Takuma's underwear. But before she can reach him, she suddenly stops and hands him a lucky charm instead. The girls reveal that it's all an act, and that they only wanted to help Takuma relax and stop stressing over his exams. Natsuki, acting all tsundere, mumbles that it's their way of thanking him for always putting up with them. That night, the girls share a bath together, hoping Takuma will take care of that charm. As for Takuma, he prays to his mother again, half complaining about the girls and his lack of private space, but quietly grateful for a gift he hasn't had in a long time. Later that evening, with everyone gathering in one room, the girls receive a warning from their father Odin that a demon might appear during the upcoming school festival. Misa asks Itsuyo, Mutsumi, and Natsuki if they suspect anyone, but none of them have any clues. Futaba warns them to stay alert, as there might be an imposter hiding among the students. Natsuki, however, really wants the festival to go well, especially since she's excited about their class project, a maid cafe. She assumes Takuma doesn't care about the event, but to their surprise, he does care, not for the festival itself, but he's excited to have the whole classroom to himself while everyone else is outside. The next day, Natsuki tries to catch his attention by cleaning windows and acting super helpful. But as always, Takuma's eyes stay glued to his books. Instead, some random guy from class compliments her. But Natsuki doesn't even hear him, as she's too busy spiraling, thinking about how Takuma has completely lost interest in her. Then one of her friends calls her over to help with a modeling task for the class cafe trial, and Inukai pops up as the examiner. Still keeping up his princely act, Inukai teases the flustered Natsuki while secretly fantasizing about devouring both her and Takuma. As part of the exam, Inukai deliberately pairs Takuma as the customer, and Natsuki as the maid. Natsuki takes the chance to win his heart by acting sweet, but it's the boys in class who fall for her charm instead. She even brings him a parfait, and tries to add whipped cream on top, only to mess it up and fall right on top of him, creating a total mess. Uka takes the opportunity and curses the jealous students, possessing their bodies with demons. Natsuki realizes this goes beyond anything their father predicts, and without her Valkyrie uniform, she can't access her full power. The demons overwhelm her and she starts to lose, but that's when Takuma stands up and shields her. Seeing that Inukai realizes something critical, that Valkyries are powerless in their human forms. On their way home, Natsuki tells Takuma he probably doesn't like her being around him because she's not pretty enough for him. But Takuma tells her that she is pretty, which makes her heart skip a beat, but as a true tsundere, she's not about to admit it. Days later, the festival arrives, and everyone's busy with food stalls and class projects. Takuma somehow ends up on a date with Yakumo, but since Yakumo looks so expressionless, people start whispering, thinking maybe Takuma kidnapped her or blackmailed her into walking with him. Takuma figures all he needs to do is smile and blend in until they reach a quieter spot, but when he does so, he looks like the Joker having a stroke. Yakumo, on the other hand, just wants the date to end as soon as possible, so they visit Natsuki's maid cafe. There, Takuma ends up agreeing to everything Yakumo says, while she casually dumps every decision onto him. Natsuki, trying to help these two awkward souls, offers them a pair of special drinks. Yakumo plainly declines, but then does a total 180, deciding to make Takuma drink from her hand instead. Right, she's that type. Takuma goes along with it, and he sips from her hand while Yakumo watches with a little too much pleasure. But then, Takuma fumbles, slips, and somehow lands face first between the almighty Snoo. Yakumo's clearly enjoying toying with him, but Natsuki's had enough. She storms in, scolds her, and rolls her away like an egg roll. The other girls show up and act like nothing strange about hanging around Takuma, but the crowd is convinced Takuma must have brainwashed these girls or something. That's when Futaba makes a suggestion that Takuma and Natsuki should dance at the after-party. Natsuki hesitates, awkwardly suggesting maybe someone else could do it, but the other girls agree that she's the one who should. But Takuma, in the most Takuma way possible, says he doesn't want to dance, especially not at the after-party when the crowd will go wild, and especially not with Natsuki, who's popular. That line hits Natsuki like a truck, and she quietly excuses herself and heads to the back room. The other girls can't tell whether they should be mad at Takuma or just feel bad for how clueless he is. Meanwhile, Natsuki is hurting, thinking how Takuma just doesn't want to be with her. Futaba follows her and checks if she's okay. Natsuki says she is, but the reverse is written all over her face. Trying to lighten the mood, Futaba shows her the beauty contest poster, and it features Natsuki, Mutsumi, and Itsuyo. Natsuki gets mad as she never signed up for this, but she switches the focus to where Ichika is. Futaba tells her she's around, and with so many humans packed into the school, the chance of a demon showing up is high, so everyone needs to stay alert. When it's Misa's turn to go on a date, she drags Takuma and Karuri into the haunted house. Inside, Takuma's more scared of humans than ghosts, and Karuri thinks they're going out for food. Meanwhile, the ghosts are more scared of Takuma than anyone else. Then she tells Takuma he can't keep apologizing for every little thing, as it makes him look weak, but she says that he must apologize to Natsuki and figure out for himself what he did wrong. Then, one of the ghosts decides to mess with them and throws a live eel at the group. Karuri's gone in a flash, and Misa is left wrestling the eel as it slithers around her body. She calls out for Takuma to help, and when he does, it's his hands now that end up slithering around. Eventually, Takuma grabs the eel and bolts, throwing it into a small pool out front. He pauses there, staring at the water, thinking how all he ever wanted was a quiet place to study, not this chaos. While he's deep in thought, Inukai appears behind him, asking what he's doing. Takuma, even while shaking, manages to talk to someone other than the girls. But while Inukai has his eyes on Takuma, chaos erupts elsewhere. The demon attack begins, and Ukai's already cursed the visitors and students, turning many of them into possessed monsters. Suddenly, Ukai stabs Takuma in the stomach and drags him away, forcing the girls to fight without Takuma's power boost. Natsuki and Ichika hold the line at the gate while the others focus on distracting the larger demon. In a hidden room, Inukai watches the fight play out, enjoying his pile of fast food, while Takuma is barely hanging on, bleeding out, being toyed with like a rag doll. Outside, the girls are struggling. Their clothes are torn, their bodies tossed around as the demons overpower them. Ichika notes that the demons are still strong, meaning Takuma hasn't beaten the main one yet, but Natsuki doesn't give up, as she still believes in him. Back in the room, Takuma's fading, and his vision blurs until he sees the lucky charm the girls gave him. He remembers how he gave it back to Natsuki the other day, thinking she needed it more than he did, as he didn't think he was strong enough to keep it. Natsuki agrees that he's weak, but she reminds him that he's also the guy who saved her twice. That memory is enough for him, and Takuma finds his strength and rises. He keeps fighting Inukai back, and even if he gets knocked down again, he fights back. And just then, Futaba finds him just in time, as Ichika has suspected Inukai from the beginning, and she's now proven to be right. Ukai tries to play innocent, but Futaba doesn't buy it, and she punches him straight in the gut. Futaba puts on her glasses and declares a claim over Ukai's life for what he did. Futaba quickly summons a fortress wall between them and tells Takuma to run, as she'll hold Inukai off for as long as she can. But it's hard for Takuma, as ever since Inukai stabbed him, he's been marked. So the moment Takuma steps outside the room, Inukai's claws stab into him again, tearing through his flesh like a twisted ice pop. However, the plot armor kicks in and that lucky charm from the girls lights up and saves his life. Inukai watches in disbelief, just before Futaba launches another attack at him. It turns out that the charm is crafted from mistletoe berries from the Yggdrasil tree, imbued with protection magic, but it only works because Takuma's own power awakens to trigger it. Now running for his life, Takuma dodges attacks left and right, but his will to survive and to get back to the girls is stronger than his fear. He remembers how his mother used to tell him that one day he'd have friends who aren't afraid of him. And now, those people are the girls waiting for him. When he finally reaches Natsuki, she punches him for taking too long. But deep down, she's just worried. Now, for Natsuki to unlock her full power, it'll take more than just a kiss. And they have to be physically connected, skin to skin. First, Natsuki suggests cleaning up together, as they're a total mess, and Takuma agrees. Outside, Mutsumi is already reaching her limit. Yakumo gives her a quick power boost with her flute, just enough to push through. But the wait for Takuma and Natsuki is taking too long. Itsuyo nearly gets caught by a demon, but Misa jumps in just in time to save her. But still, Itsuyo's hand is cursed and now moves on its own. Misa's last move is a threadball barrier, wrapping around the girls to protect them inside. Meanwhile, Takuma and Natsuki go way past just a kiss, and through that intense moment, Takuma unlocks his true power. A magic book materializes in his hands, and he uses it to instantly heal Natsuki. She emerges fully powered, glowing stronger than ever, and charges head-on at the massive demon. Meanwhile, Futaba and Inukai are still locked in combat, throwing everything they have at each other. Inukai sneers, asking why she goes so far to protect the human world, which is a disgrace to holy beings. But Futaba isn't fighting for that, and she's fighting because he hurt her sisters, and because Inukai and the other demons are just preparing for a much bigger war. That statement makes Inukai flinch just slightly, and in that moment, 2 arrows shoot toward Futaba. She catches them midair, but that gives Inukai the chance to vanish. Back on the battlefield, Natsuki makes her final move. With her prayer and technique, she finishes off the demon. As for Inukai, he gets dragged back by his master, who now realizes Takuma is a real threat. With the battle over, everything starts returning to normal. The students and visitors wake up, and the festival continues. Then comes the beauty contest. The 3 sisters compete, which ends with Mutsumi winning because of her massive fan base. At the dance party, Natsuki still feels awkward about the kiss they shared, and she's also still bothered by how Takuma said he didn't want to dance with her. But then Takuma approaches her and says he just wants to say thank you. He had misunderstood, as he thought she only wanted to dance with him to help him with his fears, so he rejected it. Natsuki lets out a long sigh at how clueless he is, and she tells him that's not it. Then she kisses him quickly and says she wants to dance because she wants to. With that, she asks Takuma to work hard alongside the girls because the demons will keep coming, and they have to protect everyone. The night after the festival, Takuma gets up to grab some water, and on his way notices that the girls are still awake, just lounging around the kotatsu. Takuma casually asks if today's not a date day, and Misa teases him for being the first to bring it up. Then Mutsumi and Itsuyo immediately jump in, asking if he's serious about going out. Natsuki quickly shuts them down, but then Karuri steps in and ends the commotion altogether, as she's just finished working on a piece of medical equipment. She explains that it's designed to treat them properly, and it's all at Futaba's request, as with demon attacks becoming more frequent. Proper treatment is essential, and the doctor for them is Takuma. Misa instantly rejects the idea, as she refuses to have Takuma touch her, and the others aren't too thrilled either. But for the first time, Takuma agrees to go along with the idea, as he's already accepted his fate as the girl's partner, and he still feels guilty after yesterday's battle. First up is Futaba. The headband scanner shows her health status, where it hurts, and what needs treatment. Takuma grabs the stethoscope to check her heartbeat, but Futaba cheekily lifts her clothes, exposing her soft bouncy plots right in front of him, and Takuma places the stethoscope in the wrong spot. Futaba casually corrects him, and, embarrassed, Takuma blurts out a random math fact to hide his panic. Second is Misa. She immediately refuses this Johnny Sins-like roleplay and stands to leave. But Takuma grabs her pants, and instead of stopping her, he accidentally pulls them off. After a short argument, Misa begrudgingly agrees to let him apply a special healing oil that Karuri made. She lies down, barebacked, and Takuma applies the oil, which is a dangerously sweet torture for Takuma. Third is Itsuyo. She's confident at first, until the scanner says she needs a urinary checkup. She instantly turns red, as just the idea of Takuma checking it is too much. She runs off completely embarrassed. Fourth is Mutsumi, who needs a mouth check. But somewhere along the way, she gets way too excited and bolts out of the room before finishing. Fifth is Natsuki. Takuma has to measure her sizes, and Natsuki refuses to strip at first, but ultimately chooses to stay in her undergarments, which has a bear on the chest. Takuma blurts that they look cute, which makes Natsuki blush, especially since she changed on purpose. However, Takuma follows it up with something that hits her emotional weak spot, and she slaps him and storms off. Sixth is Yakumo, who needs a temperature check, but this crazy dominant little devil decides to tease Takuma instead, playing with his innocence until he's the one who runs away this time. Lastly, it's Karuri's turn. She scolds Takuma for failing every treatment, because all the girls ran off before completion, so she decides to show him how it's done. Karuri activates a Super Saiyan mode that allows Takuma to treat multiple people at once, but the boost overwhelms the system and breaks the equipment, which makes her realize that she needs materials from Asgard. As Takuma tries to remove the lab coat, it sticks to him. Realizing it's about to explode, he dives into the backyard just in time, right before it blows up. And by the end of the night, Takuma is the one who ends up needing treatment. The next morning, when Misa wakes up, she finds Itsuyo already feeding Takuma breakfast. But when he gets to the second plate, he throws up and runs off. Misa chuckles at the sight, and she tells Itsuyo to slow down. Then Itsuyo asks Misa about dating since Misa is older. But to her disappointment, Misa has zero experience, as when they were younger, Misa was either training with the older ones or babysitting the younger ones. So she tells Itsuyo that dating is something she has to experience for herself. Still, Itsuyo gives her the big teary eyes, saying she couldn't do anything with Takuma during the festival, and Misa melts at the sight of it, so she agrees to help. She takes Takuma with her to do some house chores, while Itsuyo secretly watches and takes notes from behind the door. They start with folding laundry, and everything goes smoothly until it comes to the underwear, where Takuma gets flustered. Misa, who's working on a big plush doll for Natsuki, notices him struggling to stay focused, and she starts feeling a little bad for him for being too easy to get excited. When her thread runs out, she reaches for more, stored up high in the wardrobe. But as she stretches up, Takuma, sitting nearby, gets a very clear view of something he shouldn't have seen. Then, suddenly, the knitting box falls on his head, and when Misa leans in to check on him, he catches another accidental peek of her precious twins. He can't handle this domino effect, and Takuma stands to leave the room, but Misa grabs his arm, unknowingly pressing it against her plots. Takuma points out the situation they're in, and Misa turns around quickly, apologizing while flustered. She avoids eye contact, focusing back on her chopped-looking doll, while Takuma finishes folding the rest of the clothes. But in her mind, she's spiraling 1,000 thoughts per second, and she doesn't notice her threads getting tangled. Then Takuma calls her from behind, and Misa jolts in surprise, trips, and falls right on top of him with her soft vanilla twins front and center. The other girls try to sneak a peek at the situation, but Itsuyo keeps them at bay. In the end, Misa fixes her clothes, and Takuma folds everything neatly. Takuma says he's gotten used to house chores, as ever since his mom passed away, he's been living alone in that big house. That's when Misa really understands him, and as a thank you, she gives him a keychain, a small, heartfelt gift. The next day, a package arrives from the girl's father, Odin, filled with food, supplies, and another warning about potential demon activity. After the intense battle during the festival, Futaba asks Natsuki to change into her Valkyrie uniform, as she needs to check something. Natsuki follows her request, and as usual, kisses Takuma to trigger the transformation. But this time, nothing happens. And even after a more intense kiss, the transformation still doesn't activate, and Futaba has a strong suspicion about it. Meanwhile, Itsuyo and Mutsumi complain about something else entirely. How dare Natsuki kiss Takuma like that? Futaba asks Karuri to pull up the graph that monitors their strength parameters, and the data confirms her suspicion that Natsuki's energy is completely depleted. To prepare for the next fight, the responsibility shifts to Mutsumi and Yakumo. as fighters like Natsuki and Itsuyo are in need of a small recharge. The next day, while Mutsumi has a photo shoot gig, Takuma and Yakumo are sent on a date. The two accompany Mutsumi to a park and sit together, holding hands to help Yakumo recharge her energy. Even though they're technically alone, they're still out in public, and feeling nervous, Takuma asks if he can take a sip of her drink, and she replies with her usual sharp tongue, practically calling him a creep for wanting to drink her saliva. Meanwhile, the others watch from a distance, and Itsuyo is worried about how Takuma and Yakumo will get along. Natsuki stays quiet, but her concern is obvious too. The night before, she checks in on Takuma, and he admits that he's honestly scared of Yakumo's intimidating aura. Natsuki explains it's not that Yakumo hates him, but she hates his heartbeat, as it's too loud for her. She explains that just like how Misa has hypersensitive skin, Yakumo has highly sensitive hearing, and that's why Yakumo always wears headphones to block out the overwhelming noise, and Takuma's nervous heartbeat is too intense for her to ignore. So now Takuma does everything he can to stay calm, but no matter how hard he tries, his heartbeat stays loud, and Yakumo's getting more uneasy. The situation gets worse when one of Takuma's classmates appears nearby to ogle at Mutsumi's photo shoot. The surprise makes Takuma instinctively let go of Yakumo's hand, disrupting the energy recharge, and they have to start over. Yakumo flatly tells him to stop his heartbeat altogether, as it's still too loud, and she wonders aloud why their father chose such a cowardly man. Then again, she reminds him of his healing ability, and tells him to instead focus on healing Natsuki and recharge her powers. However, he shamefully admits that he still can't activate his power at will, and Yakumo calls him a wuss. Then, with Mutsumi done with her shoot and taking a short break, Yakumo gets an idea. She brings Takuma into Mutsumi's trailer, and suggests a private photo shoot with Mutsumi in a swimsuit. Mutsumi notices the serious look on Takuma's face and agrees, seeing that it's also a chance for her to level up. However, wanting it to get extra spicy, Yakumo, ever the little devil, teases Mutsumi by untying her plot cover, claiming it's for stimulation. She even brings out a popsicle, and the two give Takuma a show no man could ever forget. Meanwhile, outside the trailer, a huge demon appears and attacks Takuma's classmate. Ichika and Futaba quickly step in, stalling the demon until Mutsumi and Yakumo are ready. Inside, Mutsumi sees what's happening and knows their time is up. Yakumo prepares for the transformation kiss, and Mutsumi sets her embarrassment aside and joins her. The two transform into their Valkyrie forms, and fighting the demon becomes a speed battle between the two. Mutsumi flies fast and agile, while Yakumo uses her voice to slow the demon's movements. Yakumo also struggles with all the noise around her, but she senses an attack from below just in time. Meanwhile, Takuma has his own problem as he still can't awaken his power. Suddenly an arrow strikes the demon and explodes, but instead of dying, the monster grows even larger like it's been powered up. That's when Yakumo remembers what Futaba said about the mistletoe, the same material used in the lucky charm Takuma carries. Back at the festival, the charm only works because his energy activates it, and without his own power, the charm is just a regular tree branch. Futaba once apologized for placing such a burden on Takuma, but he's the only one who can heal her sisters. So Takuma stands up. And finally, his power awakens. Instantly, the girl's energy surges back, and they defeat the demon with ease. Meanwhile, the one who shoots the arrow earlier watches from afar, watching Takuma and his power closely. He realizes now that his own power can't beat both the girls and Takuma, as they have become stronger at this point, so he makes his next move, and calls upon one of the elder demons, Princess Skuld. Back with Takuma, he gets scolded by Natsuki for fighting recklessly, but Natsuki also praises him. Just then, Yakumo walks in with a drink for Takuma, but when she sees that Natsuki has already given him one, she turns back and starts calling him horrible words out of jealousy. Episode 9. Sometime later, Princess Skuld arrives on Earth with her maid, and because how they look and dress, everyone turns their heads, wondering which cosplay event they're going to. Elsewhere, Itsuyo heads to the city because Misa asks her to buy some knitting supplies, and it's her first time riding the train. But before she can leave, the others ask her to do an energy recharge. That's when Natsuki walks in, pretending to be a creepy stranger harassing Itsuyo, only for Takuma to swoop in as her savior, as a form of roleplay, which Takuma doesn't get a say in. But because of his overly serious face, someone ends up calling the actual police on him. Meanwhile, the girls are just being Sweet Home Alabama on the train, making all the stepmoms and stepsisters from my favorite website proud. After Takuma clears up the misunderstanding with the police, he meets up with Itsuyo and Natsuki when they arrive, while battling his own fear of crowds, but pushes through and manages to find Itsuyo. They complete the errand, but Takuma trips and falls right onto Itsuyo, grabbing her precious by reflex like a true stepbro. It's too much for Itsuyo, and she bolts, convinced that everyone's too fixated on her plots. Meanwhile, at the market, the arrow dude uses hypnosis to manipulate vendors and bystanders, getting anything he wants for free. Back at his place, he has Inukai preparing a meal because Princess Skuld is arriving, and he is about to bring out the sweets he thinks she might like. But before he can, Skuld has already taken them, and suddenly appears, casually perched on top of the drawer. Inukai runs his mouth, joking about Skuld's pettiness, and that earns him an immediate smackdown from Skuld's maid, Rufka. Skuld gets straight to the point, that she's here to destroy the Valkyries and take the mistletoe from them. Back with the trio, on the way home, Natsuki suddenly freezes. She says it's gotten cold all of a sudden, and asks Takuma if he's managed to control his power yet. Takuma tells her that he still can't activate his powers consistently, and Natsuki understands, knowing he's just a normal human. She changes the subject, asking what's in the bag he's carrying. He shows her that it's another book, as they've got an exam coming up, but Natsuki totally forgets. Takuma lightly scolds her, saying she should take studying more seriously. Trying to save face, Natsuki says she will get serious and reveals that she even has glasses like Futaba now. Then another chilly breeze makes Natsuki sneeze, and Takuma instinctively grabs her hands to warm them up. It's a sweet moment between them, but suddenly Natsuki senses something approaching, and she immediately pushes Takuma aside. An attack comes out of nowhere, fast and merciless. The enemy's movements are beyond anything she's faced before, and Natsuki can barely keep up. When the dust settles, the attacker is revealed to be Ichika, their eldest sister. Ichika wastes no time. She scolds Takuma harshly for his lack of power and his inability to protect them. Takuma has no response, and like a dog being reprimanded, he lowers his gaze, stammering out a formal greeting. That only angers Ichika more, and she's seen everything from the first day up until now, and she's had enough. But the moment her sisters show up and greet her warmly, Ichika drops the scary gangster act and turns into a walking bubble of sweetness. Takuma tries to sneak away during this sudden mood shift, but Ichika throws her spear to block his path, as she's not done with him. Futaba explains that Ichika's here because Natsuki is still too weak, so Ichika will be stepping in to fill her role. But because Ichika is still level 1, like it or not, she still needs Takuma to progress her plots to level up. They start with the simplest bonding exercise by taking a bath together, and Ichika doesn't mind any of this. Her only concern is Takuma's ability, and she demands he activate his power right then and there. He tries, but nothing happens, so Ika changes the subject. She asks what Takuma really feels about her sisters, as she's convinced he isn't taking his role seriously. With a trembling voice, Takuma replies that he's grateful that they've stayed by his side, even though he keeps messing up. However, Ichika isn't impressed, and she calls his answer pathetic. She tells him flat out that the only way the girls can unlock their full power is if he truly falls in love with them, and right now his love is weak as he can't even handle 2 of them. So she challenges him to make her fall in love with him. Right as things get intense, Natsuki and Yakumo walk in. They explain that Futaba was worried Ichika would have trouble bonding with Takuma, so they were sent to join the bath too. In another room, Kurori asks Misa about Ichika's abilities, and Misa explains that Ichika is the strongest among them. Mutsumi adds that her unique power makes her capable of fighting even high gods. While Yakumo's sensitivity lies in her hearing, Ichika's is in her skin, as she can detect enemies through her skin, and even at level 1 she's formidable. Kurori asks if Ichika would be okay when Takuma washes her back, and back in the bathroom, Ichika's body and ego are struggling to deny Takuma's smoother-than-butter touches. Then when it's her turn to wash Takuma's back, she doesn't do it the normal way, and instead she rubs her entire body against him. Both Takuma and Natsuki scream in shock, and Ichika casually explains that Yakumo told her to do it that way. Ichika pushes through, trying to pretend everything is normal, but her heightened sensitivity is driving her insane. She notices Natsuki getting a little jealous, and teases her just to get a reaction. Yakumo tells Natsuki she should stop hiding her feelings and just confess, as Takuma might feel the same way. Natsuki, completely flustered, throws Yakumo out of the bath, only for Ichika to accidentally kiss Takuma in the chaos, and it completes their task to bond with each other, even if it doesn't go the way Ichika plans. Later that night, everyone takes turns getting a bath and resting. Takuma then asks Futaba why Valkyries even need rest, and Futaba explains that while it's true that Valkyries have strong souls, they aren't as powerful as the goddesses above them, and because of that, evil deities seek to claim their souls. Meanwhile, Skuld is already preparing to attack Takuma and the girls, and Anukai shows her the way to Takuma's house. There, Rasvaka scolds Anukai for being useless, as because he failed to take out Takuma, Skuld now has to handle things herself. Uka snaps, letting out his wild dog energy and yelling back at Rosvaka for disrespecting him. But both of them freeze the moment Skuld turns and gives a glare. Ukai still vividly remembers how he slices through Takuma like cake. But thanks to the mistletoe, Takuma gains powerful protection. But that power is exactly what Skuld wants, as power like that shouldn't belong to a mere human. Suddenly, as the 3 of them go about their twisted planning, Ichika drops in casually like she's joining a group chat, and she says she actually agrees with them. All 3 of them freeze, and Ichika admits she's surprised by how much more sensitive she's become after getting a power boost from Takuma. But that's not the point. She stays calm and politely tells Skuld and the others to leave the human world. Skuld laughs at her, as she thinks that Ichika is being ridiculous. But Ichika knows their true motives of wanting to end the Valkyries, stealing the mistletoe and destroying the human world, which would throw off the balance between worlds and even threaten Asgard itself. Enraged, Skuld orders Rovka and Inukai to attack Ichika. But Ichika doesn't even flinch, and in an instant she slams Inukai to the ground for what he did to her sister at the festival. Then she whirls around and points her spear at Ruska's neck. From a distance, the arrows guy, Uller, watches everything unfold, and he knows better than to get close right now. Ichika, still calm, urges Skuld to back off, but the spoiled little princess refuses, especially not without Rufka. Ichika senses Uller nearby too, and she's already prepared herself for the ambush. But Urar suddenly attacks a human bystander, forcing Ichika to abandon her position to save them. That gives Skuld the chance to make contact with Rusfika and unleash her curse. Skuld draws power from Rusfika and summons high-level demons all at once. Moments later, the other sisters arrive. Itsuyo traps one demon with her chains, and Natsuki and Takuma show up too. Takuma counts the demon eggs and sees that they are outnumbered. With Ichika's boost not lasting long, and Natsuki unable to power up, they realize that they are screwed. But before the fight escalates, Skuld calls it off. She realizes she's cornered. As Rosi is drained, Inukai is totally useless, and the numbers aren't in her favor, so Skuld retreats. The next morning, Natsuki brings breakfast to the storage room, where the mysterious Shino has been recovering. Thanks to her shield, they've managed to stay safe from recent attacks. Shino hears Ichika yelling at Takuma every day through the wall, and Natsuki explains that he still can't control his power, despite accidentally pulling off amazing feats before, and Shino easily picks up on Natsuki's feelings just by how worried she sounds. Meanwhile, Ichika continues her power-boosting sessions with Takuma, but her stats barely move, and she's still not leveling up. Mitsumi compares her to Natsuki, but Yakumo just says Natsuki was easy, and Futaba explains that it's because Ichika still hasn't accepted Takuma. Ichika denies it, but when Misa presses her to admit it, she crumbles. Later that day, Ichika gets another bonding boost by going out grocery shopping with Takuma. She proudly shows off a new book she bought titled How to Be Stronger just by reading this, and Misa tells her she got scammed. Later, the girls gather to talk about future attacks from Skuld, and Ichika is still hung up on the fact that she got fooled by a freaking book. Meanwhile, Natsuki faces her own emotional meltdown. Takuma doesn't comment on what he bought earlier, and now she's spiraling, wondering if he secretly reads freaky books. Too distracted, she accidentally drinks one of Karuri's modified potions, and now she's drunk. Takuma hears the noise and goes to check, and as soon as he walks in, Natsuki leaps at him, talking complete nonsense. Futaba sees the chaos and tells Takuma to just take Natsuki back to her room, and in her drunken state, Natsuki turns into a clingy cat. She asks Takuma to help her undress, and asks why he doesn't get flustered seeing her, or whether he prefers girls with bigger sizes. This barrage of questions terrifies Takuma, but then she pins him down, trying to seduce him. But Takuma only thinks about Ichika's scary face, so he panics, shoves Natsuki off him, and she crashes into the bookshelf. The crash sobers her up instantly, and she vaguely remembers her freaky behavior. Takuma sees the dating guidebook he bought lying nearby, and he tries to grab it before Natsuki notices, but she sees it. Takuma explains that he actually bought it because of what Ichika says that he's not serious enough. Natsuki apologizes for getting drunk and acting jealous. Then she remembers what Yakumo says about being honest with her feelings, so she tries to confess to him, but Takuma interrupts. He asks if she's ever been in love before, as he doesn't even know what love is, and all he understands is responsibility. That hits Natsuki like a truck. She's furious, as after all her hints regarding her feelings, Takuma is still a clueless dimwit. Natsuki then explains that she loves someone so stupid he can't realize her feelings, or maybe doesn't even have feelings toward her at all. But even so, she tells Takuma that she will wait until he notices her and loves her back. Takuma says he's impressed by her courage and that he'll support her, which annoys her. Later, in the middle of that night, Skuld has already prepared her demon army right in front of Takuma's house, and she's ready for an ambush. Little do they know, Takuma has already made preparations with the others. Futaba is the first to step forward, as she's the fortress, and even though she remembers her father once telling her she's weak, she's still the one standing on the front lines to protect her family. Before the attack, the big three, Ichika, Futaba, and Misa, hold a private meeting. Ichika informs them that they can't defeat Skuld and her army, not with their current power and levels, but the only way to win is to take down Skuld's lover, Rosfaka, as once Rosfaka falls, they'll have an opening to strike Skuld from behind. Futaba adjusts the plan, pairing Ichika with Takuma due to her transformation limitations when accessing full power. Right then, Takuma walks in, and he says he's ready to head straight into battle, but admits he's not sure he'll make it. Ichika already expects this hesitation, but it doesn't matter, as what matters is that Takuma is ready, because the demons are already outside their house. First, he gives Futaba her full power boost, as usual, a skin-to-skin contact until they reach maximum energy sync. Now powered up, Futaba charges to the front lines, and she begins battling the demons one by one. Skuld mocks her, saying she's not as strong as she claims, but Futaba refuses to let those words get to her, keeps pressing forward following the plan. Meanwhile, Ichika and Takuma rush to circle around. Takuma wonders why Futaba doesn't summon the fortress walls to fight with her, and Ichika explains that Futaba has the weakest soul among the sisters, and if her level were higher, she could call all the fortress walls from Asgard. but at her current level, she can only summon the front line, leaving Futaba no choice but to fight hand-to-hand. But since her eyesight is lacking, she mastered using her other senses and even trained under Thor himself. On the far side of the battlefield, two drunk men walk home when a demon attacks, only to be blocked by Shino, who uses her shield powers to save them. Natsuki stands beside Shino, who already poured out all her energy to protect everyone nearby, even if it means sacrificing herself. Back at the front, Futaba faces an onslaught of demon attacks. Ichika prepares to ambush Skuld from behind, while 4 demon eggs float around Skuld. Ichika waits for the perfect moment, just as Skuld's attention locks onto Futaba. But Takuma notices something's off, and that there should be 5 demon eggs, not 4. Ichika tries to sense any hidden presence but feels nothing. She doubts Takuma's count, but he insists he's right. Watching Futaba take hit after hit, Takuma feels helpless, and he wants to jump in, but Ichika holds him back for the right moment. Even as the demons climb the fortress walls, Ichika doesn't move, leaving Futaba to push past her limits. But even while cursed, she fights on, refusing to fall, especially when she sees the demons nearing her home. Skuld grows irritated, but Futaba only taunts her further, mocking Rusvaka for still being unable to defeat her, no matter how strong she gets. That's the last straw for Skuld, as while she can handle being challenged, she doesn't tolerate disrespect towards her lover. Furious, Skuld sends all 4 demon eggs at Futaba at once. That's Ichika's cue, and she lunges to attack Skuld from behind. Ichika pulls out her spear, which is one of the most feared weapons that even the gods know to avoid. She strikes, but her spear still can't reach Skuld's body. Before she can try another move, Ichika suddenly feels something. Just like Takuma predicted, the 5th demon egg is still present, and it's inside Rozvaka. The next moment, Rezvka begins to transform, revealing her demon form. Takuma instinctively shields Ichika with his own body. With their cover exposed, Rezvka detects their location and gives chase. Takuma hides with Ichika in a nearby playground, and he can see that she's lost her power. He knows he needs to do something, but he still can't activate his own. Ichika tells him to leave her, as she knows he's weak and doesn't want him to get hurt, but Takuma refuses. Just then, he kisses her to give her the power boost she needs. He does his part properly, and Ichika doesn't push him away. But just as the moment deepens, Rusvaka and Skuld find them and attack. Takuma manages to get Ichika out of harm's way, but another blast throws them both into the air. They land tangled together, still clinging to their moment of intimacy, despite Takuma getting stabbed in the waist. At that moment, Ichika remembers a conversation she once had with her father, Odin, who asked her what kind of man she liked. Back then, young Ichika said she didn't care about her own type, as she already was the man in her life. But she cared deeply about her sisters, and she wanted them to find someone kind, responsible, and determined. And now, she finally understands, and she finally fully accepts Takuma. A massive explosion bursts outward, and Ichika levels up to level 5, and her energy returns, full force, while Takuma activates his power. All because he truly, fully loves them. Skuld tries to attack Takuma, knowing he's unlocked his healing powers and that Ichika can now fight without getting tired, but Ichika, using all her senses, stops the attack. She warns Skuld not to underestimate her or her family, because this isn't the end. Meanwhile, Natsuki jumps on a bike and rushes to the battlefield. Takuma sees her and immediately catches up just in time. He gives her the perfect energy boost, enough for her to transform into her Valkyrie uniform and join the fight. Skuld realizes she's being cornered, so she summons all her demons to protect Rusvaka. But Futaba still stands tall, and warns that if Skuld keeps pressing forward, it's already over. Rozvaka asks Skuld to use their final technique, and Skuld resists at first, but when Ichika launches another attack, she has no choice. She agrees to merge with Rozvaka and unleash her full power. Futaba quickly raises her fortress, while Ichika, Natsuki, and Takuma get into position. The moment Skuld reappears in her monstrous new form, Ichika and Natsuki attack. But even with their combined skills, shield, fortress, spear, and swords, they can't hold their ground, as Skuld's new form is too powerful. She smashes through Futaba's fortress, bypasses Shino's shield, and knocks Shino out. And for the first time, the world sees just how truly terrifying the strongest demons can be. Skuld curses humanity and prepares to turn them into her army. She targets Ichika and Natsuki next, and Takuma nearly loses his power from the pressure. But he refuses to back down, so he stands up and puts himself in front of Ichika and Natsuki, shielding them with his own body. At that moment, Radivka sees something in Takuma, a reflection of herself, back when she once protected Skuld as a child. That memory triggers something deep within her, causing conflict to break out between Skuld and Radivka, and their fusion collapses. Ichika gets to her feet, and while her boost is gone in Skuld and Ruvka's weakened state, this is her chance. Rusvka is on the edge of death, and Skuld moves to protect her instantly. Ichika remembers her father's warning to never take a life, but after what they did, she's ready to make an exception. Just then, Rusvaka looks up, and there's something broken in her eyes that stops Ichika in her tracks as it reminds her of Shino. In that moment of hesitation, Skuld grabs Rusvaka and escapes. The fight is over, and afterward firefighters arrive to deal with the aftermath. But in the chaos, Uller slips into their house and makes his move. He steals the mistletoe and corners the girls, and even though Misa tries to protect them, she's already at her limit. Using Inukai's lingering power, Uller traps Misa and stabs her, aiming to finish her off. Misa bleeds out rapidly, and the threads she's sewn into her own body try to heal her, and Takuma uses his healing non-stop. But something is different, and Takuma says he can't feel her soul, unlike when healing the others. Meanwhile, Misa wakes up already on the edge of the Tree of Life, and she knows that death is near, but Takuma refuses to give up. He forces himself into the realm of souls, searching for Misa with every last bit of energy he has. He's already lost his mother once, and he refuses to lose anyone else. And finally, he succeeds and brings Misa back to life. Misa apologizes, ashamed she couldn't protect the mistletoe, but Ichika tells her it doesn't matter, as what matters is that she's alive. Futaba then turns to Ichika and asks what she thinks of Takuma now, after seeing him save Misa from the realm of souls, and save Natsuki twice. Ichika still doesn't know why Odin chose him, but Futaba believes that it is fate that was written from the day he saved Natsuki, or even the day he lost his mother. Just then, Shino, the mysterious one, finally emerges, fully recovered, introduces herself to Takuma, and she's there as the strongest Valkyrie to help out. But upon seeing her, Takuma feels like he's met her before. Days pass and the group returns to school. People are still cautious around Takuma, but he's changed, and he can now control his fear and anxiety. Then, with his fear gone, he finally passed his exam and made it to the top grade, just like he promised his mother all those years ago. Everyone congratulates him, as they all know how hard he studied. When Takuma gets home, he knows exactly where the girls are. He opens the door only to find them changing clothes. Without hesitation, he confesses and tells them that he loves them all equally. Natsuki turns red and throws a shampoo bottle at him. But they all realize that if he's serious about what he said, that means the competition is, as each of them wants Takuma to love them the most, as, after all, a Valkyrie's power is fueled by love, and what they all want, more than anything, is to be truly loved in return. Comment down below, Valkyrie Clapper. If you watched till the end, subscribe so you don't miss the next video.